Hey, I'll be Dettmer here doing a video on my top 5 favorite horror novels or books or whatever. But before I get into that, I just want to say that some of these my opinion might change later on, as there are these are books that I own personally, not books that say I have listened to or whatever. I do plan on getting some other books in, but this is just how it'll be until this is my opinion until I get more books and I read them, and then maybe my opinion changes. But this is for right now my top 5. Watch this thing be outdated almost the moment I upload it. Anyway, yep, let's get right on to the video. As for number 5, I'm gonna start off with Daughters Unto Devils by Amy Lukacs. It is the story of a girl named, let me have to read this, Amanda Werner. I can't always, I never go with name, but it's a story about a girl named Amanda Werner in this old forest area, living with her family after something happened in last winter. And it kind of goes through their time of moving from this one place to another. There's a lot of supernatural stuff that goes on. It does get a little dark because there is miscarriage and stuff like that, along with harm to a baby, to an infant. So that's kind of how that turns out. It's actually really good. It surprised me how much I actually really liked it, because I didn't realize it existed until I was at work one day looking through audiobooks, and horror audiobooks specifically, and I came across Daughters Unto Devils, and I actually really ended up liking the book. It's not the most perfect book out there, but definitely I liked it a lot. So now moving on to number 4. Alright, number 4 is Audition by Ryu Murakami. This is the story of an older gentleman who lost his wife. I can't remember to what, but it was his wife died 7 years ago, and he's now his son suggests that he tries to go dating again. So his buddy helps him set up an audition to find a new woman, which has them run into, let me look up her name real quick. Yamasaki Asami. So I'm sorry, I'm not good with names. I can remember the plot, but I'm not good with names. But yeah, so the main character's name is Aoyama, I think. I'm not good with Japanese names either. And then he comes across Yamasaki Asami, and some really messed up, disturbing stuff happens. It's mainly known predominantly for its ending, where Asami tortures the protagonist with pins and needles. And it's honestly I remember when I watched the movie by Takashi Miike, it wasn't, I didn't like it. But the book is really good. It ends a little bit differently than the movie, but overall it's still a really fun read, and I recommend this one. I'll leave links to all these books, the Amazon links to all these books down below, if y'all want to check them out yourself. I'm not doing any of these justice because it's been a while since I've read some of these, but I do remember the basic summaries, most part. I'm not actually reading off the back. I'm just trying to tell you what happens. Anyway, moving on to number 3. Alright, and for number 3, I have Pen Pal by Dathan Arbach. I know this one from the Reddit No Sleep story, obviously. Most people do. That's how I figured it out. And I was actually really excited when I found that it has a novel format, because I really actually enjoy the story despite having some issues. I found it really nice to listen to. So this one is about a young boy. I genuinely can't remember his name, but it's about a young boy who ends up being stalked by this weirdo after sending after sending out this little school project with a balloon, and eventually it leads to a lot of messed up stuff happening. It's not really all that disturbing. It's mainly just a horror novel, but it is definitely an interesting horror novel. I recommend you pick up this one. I also have read Dathan's other book, Bad Man. I wasn't too much of a fan of that one as I was this one. I did listen to it as an audiobook, and I was thinking of picking it up on physical, but after listening to it, I just say stick with Pen Pal. That one's a lot better than Bad Man, though Bad Man did have like a lot of like heart put into it, so I kind of feel bad for like saying don't read that one. Yeah, just read Pen Pal. It's a lot better than Bad Man. It definitely has a more interesting story. I definitely found like the motives, like the lack of motivation that you get, like that you hear about this like stalker, you know, really interesting. My favorite part of this had to have probably been with the cat boxes, only because that one kind of hurts a little bit because I have a cat. So, you know, when that stuff happens, I was like, oh, that kind of got me. But yeah, now moving on to number 2. And for number 2, we have Tender is the Flesh by Augustina. I think that's how you say it, Augustina. I know in my short I just uploaded, it says, I say Augustina. No, it's Augustina. I'm sure it's Augustina because it's like, it'd probably be like a female version of the name, Augustine. So it's like Augustina, that's how it is. I can't pronounce her last name worth anything, so I'm not gonna try. At least I think it's a her, it's Augustina. So if I'm wrong, make myself even look more stupid than I did in my short. But Tender is the Flesh is about a man named Marco who works as a human meat process, like works at a human meat processing plant, trying and failing to start a family. This one is really interesting in terms of like its world. Like there's a problem with like regular meat such as cow, pork, and all that stuff. Because I think there's like a disease, if I remember correctly, there's a disease that developed that you couldn't eat this meat. So they started packaging human meat and they called it like special meat. And the laws and rules behind like who's considered like special meat and who's considered a normal human is really messed up. This is a really disturbing book and I really like it. I was actually recommended this book by a Barnes & Noble employee when I was going to look for a bunch of disturbing books at Barnes & Noble one time. They said, hey, why don't you check out this book? And at the time I said, nah, you know, I wasn't really feeling it. But then I watched this one video, which I will link the video down below because the video is a really good video. I'm not associated with the guy that made the video, but I listened to it almost religiously because of how much like books I got recommended from that. But yeah, this is one of those books that like after I saw it on that video, I was like, you know what? Fine, I'll try it out. Picked it up. I picked up the audiobook. I tend to listen to more audiobooks than I actually get to read these because I work a lot. So audiobooks are kind of my method of how I read these. But I have read this book. I actually have opened up and read this book. In fact, all these books on this list I have opened up and read, though I have also listened to audiobooks of. Actually, Pen Pal was also in that video, though I knew that from the you know Reddit No Sleep story. And actually, Audition is how that video is how I figured out about Audition having a novel. I only originally knew it from the Takashi Miike film, which my brother owns and he really likes. So yeah. But anyway, so moving on to number 1. All right. Before I get into number 1, though, I want to do some honorable mentions because there's a lot of books I really enjoy, but some of them I just didn't like as much. Well, not that I didn't like them, but it's like I had to kind of really pick and choose. I think that's why, like in the beginning, I said like this can really change because like there was a lot of having to like really pick and choose on which ones I liked more because there's just so much I really liked. And if I could, I would do like a whole iceberg of all the books I like. But you know, so let's start off with Haunting of Hill House. I really like this one a lot. I'm not really gonna explain what it's about. If you don't know what it's about, how? It's a classic by Shirley Jackson. She wrote stuff like The Lottery. This is really good. This is a really good book. I think it's also very similar to Hell House by, I can't remember his name, but he also wrote I Am Legend. But that's also a good book. You should check that out, though it's not in my honorable mentions list. But Haunting of Hill House is a really good book that y'all should check out. Next up is The Troop by Nick Cutter. This one surprised me. I learned about this through the video I was talking about in number when I was talking about Tender is the Flesh. I learned about this through that video. And this one, if you don't know, I used to be a Boy Scout, and this is about a group of Boy Scouts going to an island off of Nova Scotia where this parasite kills their scout leader, and just stuff goes so wrong. It's so gruesome. It's very descriptive. A lot of kids die. It's really bad. And even one of the kids is like a psychopath that likes torturing like animals and other kids. The ending is also really sad. I felt really bad by the ending, so. But this is a good book. I learned about this through the video. I will post that video down below, so please feel free to like check out that video. It's a really good video. But yeah, The Troop by Nick Cutter, really good book. I highly recommend this. I'll actually, because I like this one so much, I will actually also leave I'll leave a link for all the books I mentioned in this video, but this one especially, I'll like star this one. Y'all need to check this one out. After that, I got a pretty good one, Haunted by Chuck Palahniuk. I don't know how to say his last name. I think it's Palahniuk. So, yeah, Haunted is really interesting. It's about a group of writers invited over on a writer's retreat, and then they get locked up at a theater, and they're told to write their magnum opus. It's a whole like satire and commentary on stuff. Chuck Palahniuk tends to do that really well with a lot of his earlier works. I haven't read a lot of his later works, but I have read a lot of his earlier works, stuff like Haunted, Survivor, and Fight Club being a really good one. Most people probably know this one from the short story Guts. That one took me by surprise when I first read it, though I am a lot more indifferent to it now. So yeah, definitely check out Haunted by Chuck Palahniuk. That one's a pretty good one. Then I got The Hellbound Heart by Clive Barker. I'm a massive Clive Barker fan. I don't have a lot of his works, unfortunately. I just haven't had the time to buy them. But this one, if people don't know, this one inspired Hellraiser. So if you know Hellraiser, well, there's some differences, but this is this is one. Yeah. Anyway, so I like this one a lot as well. It's what inspired one of my favorite horror movies, which is also directed by Clive Barker. So yeah, check out Hellbound Heart. It's really good. This one is one of my most recent pickups, The Stepford Wives by Ira Levin. This one, I was actually very hesitant to get this one. I learned about this one through the video I was telling y'all about, and I was very hesitant. I thought I was not going to like this at all. But then I realized there was a movie out, two movies actually. There's a 1970s film and an early 2000s remake. And I watched the old 1970s film, and I saw that. I was like, whoa, that's crazy. So I picked up the book, and I was even more surprised. Like, it's so tense at times, and the ending is just really, it's a real downer, I'm going to be honest. But yeah, check out Stepford Wives by Ira Levin. That one's really good. And finally, this isn't a horror novel. It's actually a thriller neo-western. But I just had to mention it because unless I do like a disturbing books list or something like that, I'm not going to be able to mention this in anything else, to be honest, unless I also do like a top thrillers book. And this is No Country for Old Men by Cormac McCarthy. This book alone is so good. It's the basis for the movie No Country for Old Men, which was directed by the Coen brothers, starring one of my personal favorite actors, Javier Bardem. But this is such a good book. If you've watched the film, you've basically read the book. It's very accurate to the book. If you don't know, it's about a man, Llewellyn Moss, finding a briefcase with $2 million in it and getting hunted down by a insane man named Anton Chigurh. It's a lot of back and forth, a lot of perspective changes. This book, honestly, is so good. It's really amazing. The twist and turns this book has is beyond any other book I've read. Honestly, if this was actually more of a horror book, this would be my number one. It's one of my top books of all time, and I can't give it enough praise. It's actually such a shame that Cormac McCarthy died, was it last Tuesday or either 2 weeks ago? He died this year, unfortunately. wrote some of the best books I've ever read. I have a bunch of Cormac McCarthy books. I might actually do like a top, like ranking my Cormac McCarthy books because these are all so good. So yeah, this one especially, check it out. This one is good. Now, finally, we're going to go to number 1. As for number 1, this is my most recent pickup. I learned about it through the video I was talking about. And it is Horror Store by Grady Hendrix. I wasn't very sure about this, but the idea that it was formatted like a store catalog that got progressively more disturbing as things go on really enticed me enough to be like, fine, you know what? I'll find an audiobook first. So I found the audiobook on Audible, and it was free, so I was like, why not? And I listened to it, and it was so good. It's really good. This is, I don't, even if like my other like slots for my top 5 change, this one I think will stay number 1 because of just how good it was. It actually left me wanting more so badly that I don't know if, hopefully there is a sequel coming out or there is one out. I don't read a lot of Grady Hendrix, but this one was absolutely amazing. It's basically people trapped in an IKEA store after, like, you know, on like a midnight shift, and they get so disturbing, so messed up. Honestly, some of the characters I felt deserved to, like, I didn't feel bad for one character. One character annoyed me to all heck, and I think that was maybe the kind of the point. But every other character, I'm like, no, I can't let this happen to them. Like, that's terrible. So I'm not going to go too much into spoiling this one because I just want people to read it. But this one is so good. I like this one a lot. This one is, you should check it out. And I like how the back is kind of like a more decrepit version of the front. But you can also kind of see the front has the thing on it. But yeah, no, this is really good. Y'all should check out Horror Store by Grady Hendrix. Yeah, check that out. All right, and that was my top 5 plus some honorable mentions. Go check all these books out. I'll leave the links down in the description below, and also I will leave a link to that video I was talking about down below. Now, I did kind of like try to like sway from saying what it was, but I guess I'll say it now because I'm at the end of the video, and why not? It is a disturbing book iceberg. I can't remember by who. I think his name is like Alexander or something like that. I watch a lot of his videos. He does a lot of good stuff. But like that video I watched is like an hour and 2 minutes, I think. Really good. A lot of books I picked up are from that or because I watched that video. So yeah, go check out that video. Go check out any of these books I list. Also, of course, not to like be egotistical or anything, but I will also link my book down in the video, down in the description. So go check out that. But first and foremost, check out these books. These books are really good. They're really interesting. I wish I could have gone into more depth about these books than I did, but I didn't want to like spoil a lot of it because of how good I think these books are in particular. But yeah, go check out these books. Really fun, really enjoyable. A lot of them are really disturbing, so I do be mindful that, yeah, these aren't like easy book. A lot of these aren't very easy books to read. Some are, some aren't, but like a lot of these aren't very easy books to read. Anyway, thank you. All have a good day. Oh, and just one more thing before I head out. If you see, I think it's going to be either on this side or this side. It's either one. This is the editing software I use, and I am way too poor to be able to pay to get that label off. So yeah, if you want any sort of editing in these videos, which are normally not even like high quality videos anyway, if you want any sort of editing, you're going to have to deal with that. So yeah, and there is some editing in this video, as y'all have seen, because I couldn't do it all in one take. So yeah, it's either in this corner or that corner. If you want me to get rid of that, support my book. Give me money, because that way, if I have enough money, I can actually afford to get that stuff taken off. So that way you don't have to deal with annoying watermarks from anything aside from me. So yeah, anyway, have a good day.